Hey everyone, and welcome back for another episode of the Feel Great with Kait podcast. I'm your host, Kaitlin Borncamp, and I'm excited for today's episode. We have a guest with us. Akshay Shah is someone who's been 100% plant based on a raw food diet for now 16 years. What's really impressive is that at age 66, he currently has zero chronic diseases, he takes no medications, and he's actually training for his 8th marathon. So I'm really excited, Akshay, to have you on the show because as we were chatting about previously, we see nutrition some things the same and some things different, and I think that those parts will probably come out in today's discussion. But I'd love to say thank you for coming on the show, and I'd love to hear, how did you get started in the raw food diet? Did you always plan to do that, or did something in your own health journey lead you to that?
The short answer is no medical issue, no chronic disease. I was not obese, nothing like that. Just out of curiosity, just out of, just wanted to experiment. And I tried. I loved it. And yeah, 16 plus years, and I'm here. I like it because it gives me totally new life.
And so what I'm hearing is that you didn't have like a health crisis or anything like that. Had you heard of raw food diet before? Because it's pretty different than the way most people eat. So how did you come across this concept?
No, I never heard that before. As even teenager, I experimented on myself, eating 1 month nothing but salad, eating 1 month nothing but mung beans. So those are the things I did it as a experiment as a teenager. What energy I had at 30 and 40, I didn't had at 50. So I was thinking about it, and on 5th of December, we were celebrating my mother's birthday, and I said, okay, just casually that I'm going to go for raw food on 1st of January, New Year resolution. And my brother-in-law says, what is in 1st of January? Today is your mom's birthday. And it hit my head, I said, yeah, what is in 1st January? Let's do it. So from 6th of December, I was on raw food 2009 and till today.
Wow. And so did you always plan to do it? Like it sounds like when you started it, it was more of an experiment. You were going to see how it worked for you, how you felt. Did you think at that time it would become a long-term diet for you?
So when I even discussed this, the one thing was going on in my head that most of the people I am seeing in the old age I consider 65 plus, they are all suffering with the pain and many diseases. And I was trying to understand why is like that and why people are going in that kind of channel that they have to go through all the pain and suffering. And I thought, let me try this because I see that cooked food is not giving the good nutrition. That's what my assessment at that time. I don't have any medical degree. I don't have any training. I'm a businessman, and whole my life I did business. But putting two to together, is like rational mind, because as I said, the human evolution, if you see it, it is before even we had the fire. That's a half a million year back. We used to eat plant-based raw food and whatever, even the meat or whatever, but there was no cooking. I said, okay, let me try this and let me see how I feel. My assessment was like, if I don't like it, I will quit. I was not knowing even how far I'm going to go, whether 2 week or whether 6 week or I was 6 months. I was not knowing anything. So that gave me a freedom. I create my own rule. I go with what my body says, what my mind says. I was enjoying it. It was not punishment. It was a reward. It was like you are enjoying good health, good energy. Within a 3 4 week, I started feeling it. That now I have my goal was to have better energy, and I started getting better energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, what I like about what you shared, Akshay, is that you started this with no real expectation for yourself, so that gave you the freedom. And also equally important is that, you shifted your diet for a positive goal to have more energy, not for punishment. So that is something that a lot of people can take insight from because I know so many times the clients I speak to and just even my past experience on diets, it's so easy to think that, you need to change your nutrition or improve what you're eating from a place of shame or a place of deprivation. And that's, I think, why a lot of people fear or avoid improving what they eat, because they associate it with something negative or something bad or some sort of punishment. So that's really incredible. But tell me more about, what did you start to notice after the first couple of weeks and years, even after you shifted to the raw diet? Like, what other changes, either good or bad, did you start to notice in your body?
So as I said, energy is the one thing, but overall, my body toned so much, so good that today I ran almost 10 mile before this doing podcast, and I have still energy. I'm going to do another. After 1 hour, 2 hours. So the whole day is I'm busy. I have that energy at age 66. I can do. I'm doing the work I'm doing. Age 40 or maybe 30 can do it. So that is the one positive thing, that we, you and me, all, we have a 24-hour a day. We want to see that how we can use it in optimum level. Okay, so that is the more productivity, whether you're doing business, job, even retirement, but you want to see that you use those time in a more efficient way. So this gave me more energy. And this is not to boast, but today if I go and I don't tell them I'm 66, they take me around 50. And that happened many, many, many times. They ask my ID. If I say 66, they say, okay, you don't look 66. I say, yeah, but I am. So what I'm trying to say is that's the compliments. Your skin, your body, your everything is now is much better, not just a look wise, but medically also. That's the reason I put my all the medical records on online, that I just don't want to just talk that hey, this is good or this is bad. And the more important, I'm not selling anything. I'm not telling people join my group or buy these or buy that. Nothing. I am out of it. Being a businessman, I know one thing, is like when you try to sell it, it's like you lose the credibility. And I'm here to give to the world. This is, I'm seeing it that way. No matter what, my biological clock is ticking. I'm 66, I'm last inning of my life. I want to give back to the world, that whatever 2 cent I have. One of my followers just called and says, because of you, I started eating more fruits and vegetable and nuts, and within 3 4 months I'm seeing a great change. Everything is changed. And I said, that's good. That's what I want. I
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Well, I think, I mean, in large part, what's interesting to me about switching from, what we would call the standard American diet, which is just like a normal diet here in the States, over to even something like the raw food diet, which, while I don't really support or condone in its entirety, I do think that one of the main benefits, and probably what some of the reasons you experience those benefits, is because of the increase in nutrients. I mean, no doubt that all of the foods, I mean, I looked at your website, Akshay, and saw you also list the foods that you eat, which I think is really cool. And obviously, they're all whole foods, of course. So if you're on the raw food diet, everything is natural grown, everything is grown from the ground. And we know that that's made from nature, and that's what our body is designed to digest. We are herbivores, or omnivores, rather, I should say, where we're able to eat both plants and animals. And so you're able to get so much more nutrition from a raw food diet, say, compared to the standard American diet, which, even in some of the foods that are what we call fortified, they appear to have higher nutrition on the label, but that's because they're synthetic nutrients added, because the foods themselves are so, void of nutrition. So I'm curious, from your perspective, was there any, big areas of food that, like, which area of your diet did you see the biggest change in? Like, was it your breakfast because you used to eat oatmeal, or like what was like one thing, Akshay, that you saw the biggest change in, that maybe you kind of missed or that was challenging at first?
tell you the truth, everything. Before 2009, I used to eat like whatever comes across, I used to eat. I used to love eating spicy and pizza, and being Indian, they lived for eating. They don't eat for living, they live for eating. And that is what it is, what I see it is like, right from the breakfast. Because even let's say when I started this raw food, I was drinking green tea at that time, and also with the green tea, I used to eat a granola bar. I thought granola bar is good, healthy, whatever. But then I realized this is processed food. For 2 years, I ate granola bar. So then it's like that gave me opportunity to quit any processed food. That was the only thing I was eating. Everything else was raw. And my understanding for the food is so much filtered now that my body tells me what to eat, what not to eat, what time to eat. So all those the sensors we all have, but we lost it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm using it, I think, thank God, because of the raw food. Even my taste bud is different. Now I drink water, it tastes different. When I eat carrots, it tastes different. So it's like it's giving me more joy by eating raw food.
So all that to say, with your taste buds changing, do you find that you get more enjoyment out of the food now that you're eating? Like you like the flavor of the foods?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's what before I was eating carrot. Carrot is carrot, who cares? But
Carrots are
now,
boring. Yeah.
right? But now if I eat carrot, it's different taste. Same kind of carrots, or any fruits.
It's
Forget
sweet.
about carrot. Let's
Yeah.
say before I used to eat mango, and now if I eat mango, it's a totally different taste.
Mhm.
So taste buds changed.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Yeah.
I think that's one completely underrated part of eating healthier is that I find that most people have never actually eaten enough whole foods long enough for their taste buds to change. And I remember I had that experience when I did the Whole 30, which is, you're still eating meat, but you're cutting out all processed food. So it's 100% home cooked food. And even that was a big shift in my diet. And so I remember by, day 10 or 11 how sweet a carrot tasted, and somebody I was walking around in my office with, like, a little bag of carrots as my afternoon snack, and one of the partners looked at me and was like, "Kaitlin, what are you eating? Like, you're eating so many carrots. Why are you eating so many carrots? You're gonna turn orange." And I was like, "Actually, they're really sweet," and he thought I was crazy. He thought I was just talking it up, and I'm like, "No, your taste buds really do change, and those whole foods do start to taste better." Yeah, so going off that, talk to me about the practicality, Akshay, like, on a day-to-day basis, how do you prepare foods in a way that you are able to live your busy life, do your training, and still have time for yourself while eating the raw food diet?
I don't have to prepare anything. Let's say if I'm when I on business or every day when I go out, I carry my own lunch bag. In my lunch bag, I have a couple of fruits and a little bit of nuts, and that's about it. And whenever I am hungry, I eat that fruit, whatever fruits, seasonal fruit available. So I'm not hooked up to any one particular thing. Anything fresh available in the market. And thank God I have a big backyard. I have 30 fruit tree. So whatever natural fruits I get, that also I eat seasonal. So that also it gives me little more help. But if let's say somebody don't have, so no worry, whatever available in the market, you eat that fruit. Seasonal fruit eating is much better, so that now you are not hooked up to one particular nutrient. You are eating everything, and once you start eating everything, you keep changing. Your body is going to absorb. So today only I was telling to somebody, it is not on important what you eat. It is important, but more important is what you absorb. Because if you eat very good food but it goes out of your body without absorbing, it's no use. So what you absorb is more important. So now, whatever fruits I eat, it gives me solid energy and pleasure, and it's like, okay, this is, oh wow, such a nice persimmon, such a nice guava, or any berries, or any fruits. Even eating banana. Earlier, banana is banana, but now if I eat banana, I'm kind of little choosy now. It's like, okay, this tastes better. So earlier I used to eat two banana. When I quit the cooked food in the morning, I was so hungry. I used to eat two banana. Now, even one banana is too big for me. So I cut down to I am bringing now red banana, which is a little smaller and less sugar. So I said, okay, this is fine. And it helps me. So cutting down the food quantity, having more nutrition, aware of more what is what.
Yeah.
I was not knowing anything about sugar and cholesterol and this and that and calcium, and I was not knowing anything. And as I said, I just started out of curiosity and experiment, and now I know. Even doctor says, Akshay, you know more than other doctors. So
I was gonna ask you, yeah, when you first started, did you run into any issues eating too many carbohydrates and sugars and spiking your blood sugar?
So I was not even checking that. All I was doing is like, okay, every year you go for physical checkup, and I was doing as a routine, not out of a cautious wanted to keep the data. I just last week I was in for my blood report and checkup, and doctor says you're good.
Yeah,
Only thing,
I was
yeah,
noticing on your website you posted the past blood work as well, and at one point, I think your A1C was reported to be 6.3, which we know is considered in the pre-diabetic range. Was that something that you had to manage through? How did you manage through that on the raw food diet?
it was not 6.3, it was 6.7.
It was even higher. Yeah.
Yeah, it was higher. And my doctor says, okay, I have to give you medication. I said, doctor, please give me 90 days. He said, what? Yeah, give me 90 days, I will come back. So what happened at that time? It was not a food, but because with the food, I was taking red wine, and I used to love red wine. So every day, almost, a red wine. And when there is a party or with some social event, even 2 3 cup, red wine. So I realized, and doctor said, no, red wine cannot increase your sugar. I said, okay, let me see. And so physical mobility was restricted. So no exercise that much, and I hate to do exercise at home. If I want to run on the road, that much better for me. So, I stopped red wine, and I started doing exercise. And the good news is the last week, my A1C is from 5.9 to 5.8. It's even decreased one more. As you age, generally you don't have control. It goes, and then doctor gives you metformin or whatever. So it is all gone without any issues, and that gave me the new way of life.
Yeah. Well, and I'll push back on one thing you said, Akshay, in terms of it, it all goes downhill when you age and it's just a matter of time. I completely disagree with that because it's proven that, especially blood sugar is specifically a result of our diet and lifestyle. So you are one example of that as well. And congrats on continuing to improve your A1C. I'm sure you were happy on not needing the medication from your doctor anymore. Um, Another thing I wanted to ask in terms of your blood work is based on my understanding, a lot of people who switch over to vegetarian, vegan, even raw food, a large portion up to 50% end up with a vitamin B12 deficiency. Is this something you've tested yourself for? And how, if so, how are you supporting yourself through it?
So generally, all the vegetarian people have B12 deficiency. That's a known fact. So far, doctor was not running the test, but I have another friend. He's a doctor too, and he said, ask your doctor this time to run B12. And I asked, and there is a deficiency, so I already ordered the supplement. I have to take it, because B12 something which is our body is not manufacturing, and it's not coming, it has to come out from. So that is something which is now the latest thing, but otherwise everything is wonderful. Doctor says keep going.
So, what are your thoughts on how do you kind of reconcile that with the fact that, like you said, most vegetarians and raw food people are deficient in B12 because the food, it's B12 is not found in plants and fruit, and it's found in animal sources of food.
Not That's not 100% true. B12 even vegetarian people can get it, but we are right now in a way we are eating all the fruits and vegetables. Is also, even if it is you get from market or anywhere else, everything is waxed. Is the washed with the hot water and all those stuff. So what happens? Those bacteria and that B12, you're getting from the skin. Let's say when I eat anything from the fruit from the tree, and I eat it, I get B12. Even let's say if the cow eats the grass, on the grass there is a B12. So and then it manufactures also in their body. But the basic thing is, if we eat in natural form more and more, there is the chances that deficiency of B12 can be solved. But in today's environment, in living in the big cities, it is the highly challenging.
Sure. Next, Akshay, I wanted to ask you, since you are an experienced marathon runner, talk to me about how do you ensure that you're getting enough nutrition and enough calories, particularly on the weeks that you're training building up to the marathon, as well as during the marathon? Are you changing anything in your diet on those days?
Not really. I'm not changing anything. I'm eating what I'm eating, but of course I have to take little more precautions. It's like eating more healthy, more giving more energy. And energy is something which is misunderstood. It is not that something, if you take one time too much, the energy is not going to store in your body. So your whole energy system is mitochondria, and everything is the way it works. If the whole system is right, if it's not only piecemeal, it's not going to work. So my marathon running, what I do, not only the day before, but even the week and month before, the whole system is in a such a way that even eating last marathon when I ran with one avocado, and in the morning two banana. That's it. And I ran 26 miles. People, how can you do that? So it is not that last minute what you eat give you energy. Of course it gives you energy, but that's not the whole truth. The whole truth is how your battery inside your body harnessing the energy even way before. So if you have that energy there, you can use it while running. It is yeah, I know carbohydrate and protein and these the people are doing it, and I know that a lot of people. Oh, and I was like that before. So much my first marathon, I was so much under pressure. At age 50, I ran my first marathon, and I was not knowing much about marathon. I got trained for under somebody, and whatever they says, I have to listen. So eat this, eat that, and do this and do that, and still I made a mistake. After finishing the marathon, I didn't drink a lot of water. I supposed to drink. I finished, and I was so in joy and this that, and so that caused me little problem later on. After a week, after 10 days, So what I'm trying to say is like, once you understand your body, how much energy you need, automatically you are going to cope with that requirement. So I'm not telling people that run with the one avocado. That is the nonsense. That no, you have to understand how much your body needs, how much hunger you have, how much you understand that, okay, this is how my body is digesting it, my body is making the energy. I want to eat that kind of product, that kind of fruits and vegetable which you loves, which you gives you nutrients, and at the same time it creates the best energy.
Right. So what I'm hearing is daytime nutrition doesn't matter as much as overall nutrition, and your body is much more efficient as creating the energy you need on race day, which is great.
Yeah.
Are there any misconceptions, Akshay, that you want to clear up in terms of people thinking about the raw food diet?
So whenever I go out, and the first question most of the people ask, hey, from where you get your protein? That is they think that protein is only in animal product. And then I counter question and I say, I will give you the answer, but first tell me how much protein an adult need. And a lot of people, they don't know. They said, I don't know. So okay. I said, if you cannot quantify, how do you know that you are eating less or more? You are just eating because somebody tells you eat more protein, or you see the advertisement on the TV, you take protein and protein and protein. But as a marathon runner, I need a good protein, otherwise I cannot tone my muscles. Now, 56 gram protein, they says, is good, and I'm getting the protein from nuts and vegetables. So this is the most misconception for the protein most of the people have. That's what I think.
So are you saying your daily protein goal is 56 grams?
That's, yeah, that the average human, average adult should. And for woman it is 50 gram. It depends upon your body weight and height and everything, but roughly average this is 56 gram. If
Yeah.
you ask Dr. Google, Dr. Google says, around 56. I'm not saying that you follow that, but even if you go to ask any doctor, they are under same vicinity, couple of gram plus or minus, but it's same there.
Yeah, I think that's a big area where we depart, because I definitely follow the 1-to-1 ratio, so the daily grams of protein times your body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, your ideal grams of protein consumption should be 100 grams of protein per day.
So then I ask, okay, tell me why you need that much.
For muscle retention and also healing within the body. So all of our cells are made up of amino acids. Essentially, it's like if we're going to eat food and our food isn't made up of a large portion of protein, what is it made up of? Most people are not on the keto diet, which would be a high fat diet. Most people in America are actually on the high carb diet, which is the diabetes diet. And so we now know, after decades of having significant increases in obesity, just being overweight, and significant increasing in diabetes, that most people are eating too many carbohydrates. But mainly I follow the science and backing of Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who has the approach that muscle is the organ of longevity, and that's the amount that she recommends based on some of the leading edge science that her and her teams have done.
So my example, I say, okay, I don't want to. Doctors are doing their thing, scientists are doing their thing. If I can run marathon, it is a proof that my muscles are good. Okay, at 66. Secondly, I'm only 140 pounds. I can lift. In 2024, I lifted my 170-pound son on my shoulder. I am 140. He is 170. I lifted on my shoulder and I was dancing. I was not just walking. I was dancing on the street, and this is all filmed. So if my muscles are not good, I should fall down. I cannot even lift 40 pounds. Forget about 170 pounds. So that's something which is amino acids and everything is. I understand, and I don't want to go in that argument because I have no study. I have no numbers, but I go with my rationale that okay, if 56 gram or whatever I'm eating, I'm not even measuring how much protein I'm eating, but it proves after year after year after year, if I can run marathons, it proves that I have enough muscle mass, and those muscle mass is not only just the body mass, even the skeleton muscles are good. Otherwise, you don't have that feet. You as we age, you have then flat feet. You cannot run. It's so painful. So that I don't have. I have such a nice car. So that is all those things is a marker. It tells you that I have a good muscles. Even my doctor says, when he check, I says, okay, you're good. So what I'm trying to say, okay, then if your number says 1-to-1, so if I'm 140 pound, I should eat 140 gram. But on the other hand, I can argue like this: because of the excess protein, because people are eating excess protein, now those Alzheimer's, arthritis, all other, because is accumulation of those protein goes somewhere, which is if we are not using that, and we don't know how much. It's like people can go and pump in the gym and make a good muscles, and they after 5, 7, 10 years they stop doing it and still eating that much proteins more. It's going to backfire on long run.
I think this is another area, Akshay, where we disagree. But, like you said, what you're currently doing is working for you, and I'm happy to hear. I think I don't want it to be lost that what you're accomplishing at your age, and how you're able to feel the vitality in your body, you do feel strong, you're able to run another marathon. I mean, at any age, any marathon is an accomplishment, but particularly 8 marathons at age 66 is great. Lots of questions remaining on specific nutrition, and I think we could both agree that more long-term studies are needed for all types of diets, and that's what we hope to see. But as we wrap up our interview here today, Akshay, I'd love to ask you, how can you help people who are listening if they do want to make a dramatic shift in their diet to feel better and have more energy? What would you say to them and how they can hold true to their own goals? Like you said, you have a lot of discipline, but what about people who are up against events, business travel, their family? What do you have to say to that?
So no, I will not ask anybody to do dramatic change. Go baby step, go gradual, slowly. I am crazy. I have that discipline. I can do it. I did it, but I don't recommend to anybody else because people do not have that kind of willpower. They do not have the study which I did before in my teenager even age, and so I had that understanding. And so most of the people they fail. So no, I want to ask them go slowly. If you are not eating raw food, start with 10%, 20%, then 30, then 40, 50, gradually go more and more, and it will show you the result.
Love that. Baby steps for any change that you want to implement. That's very practical. Well, thank you, Akshay. And where can people connect with you?
So my website is Raw Foodist, RAWFOODIEST. There is extra E there. So foodist.com. Everything is there. From there, one can go to my YouTube, all the channels and blogs, and my new book is coming out. The name of the book is In Nature We Trust. That is something that Mother Nature is my teacher. I'm not going to any school, college, university to learn this. And I hope this book will make a change in people's life. Even the doctor made this forward, MD doctor. He wrote the forward and he says, Akshay, what you are saying in this book, that's true and it may bring the change.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thanks for being on the show, Akshay.
Thank you, Kaitlin. It will be an honor with you.
Just a reminder that the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. It should not be used to treat, diagnose, or cure any medical condition. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen or medications. Kaitlin Borncamp and Health Supply LLC, DBA Feel Great with Kait disclaim any liability for outcomes resulting from the use of this content.